So we're going to finish the text today. Yeah. So we've been talking a lot about this first line of the last verse, make contact with a qualified spiritual holder. And then the rest of the verse reads, and apply yourself to the methods that use the conditions of a world steeped in negativity as causes of the altruistic state of knowledge. Okay, so this is referring to the thought training teachings, and specifically within that, how to transform adversity into the path, how to practice the Dharma in a world that is less than perfect. Because sometimes we really want the world to be perfect and then practice the Dharma. Yeah? I mean, can I have the perfect conditions and the perfect this and the perfect that, and then I'll practice. But actually, practice is working with the less than perfect conditions. Okay? If everything externally is perfect, you're not going to practice because all your attachment is going to be there and you're just going to sit back and relax. Okay, so it's in the imperfect conditions that that practice occurs. And in the second line it said, and apply yourself to the methods. Okay, that means we have to really practice the methods, If we study the mind training teachings, really put them into practice. And we have to know what that means, because we'll study a lot of things, mind training, thought, Lamrim, all different sorts of things. But then when a situation happens, we're like, well, I'm mad because this person talked bad about me behind my back, and I'm just going to go punch him in the nose or ruin his reputation, or we just go right back to our old emotional habits and verbal and physical habits. Okay? So how do we apply the methods? Yeah. Well, we have to train in the methods before the situation comes up. Yeah. It's like learning to drive a car. You don't go to your driver's test cold. You don't go to your final exams at school cold, or you do, but then you know what happens. Okay? So the whole thing is preparation beforehand. So all these things that we learn, we really have to put them into practice. And so what does that mean? That one way that I find that very something very effective to do is if I learn a technique like we've talked here about when we have a negative circumstance happen, to reflect that it's a result of my harmful action done that I did before under the influence of self-centered thought. Okay? So what I'll do is even before any kind of situation happens, even just after hearing a teaching, let's say on that topic, I'll go back and on my cushion I'll remember different times in my life where people have criticized me, and I'll rerun those memories. But instead of rerunning them in the usual way where I get angry again and again and again, is I'll envision the situation and then I'll start thinking in that new way that I just learned from my teacher. Okay? And I'll practice thinking of that. So instead of, okay, I'll remember, 3 days ago somebody criticized me. Well, that happens every day, but so you choose one in the past. Yeah, or 10 years ago maybe there was a big one, yeah. So I remember that, and then I imagine that person saying that to me, and then I stop the video in my mind at that point, and I'll say to myself, this is a result of my own karma that I created in the past by criticizing other people. Yeah? It's not because this person's evil and I'm innocent, and it's not because the world's unfair, and It's not because I'm getting accused unjustly. I created the cause to experience suffering due to my self-centered thought, and here's the suffering. And I'll just sit with that, you know, remembering that situation of what that person said to me until I can really get my mind to just accept, yes, that's exactly why that person is criticizing me, you know. And then I don't go any further into the usual thing of, well, that's unfair and blah, 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 and I should do this and blah, blah, blah. It's just, you know, here's the situation, press the pause button and get your mind to look at the situation in that new way. And if your mind goes, well, yeah, it was due to my negative karma, but they had no right saying this to me, and okay, then you press the pause button again and you go, yeah, but we have to remember, you know, karma is definite. When you create negative causes, you get unpleasant results. When you experience unhappiness, it comes from, you know, harmful causes. There's nobody else to blame here. And if I don't like the result, I have to stop criticizing people myself. And then, well, how many times do I criticize people? Several times a day. Well, why am I complaining when somebody criticizes me then? You know? And so you do some meditation on karma, using your own life and as an example of how karma is definite. Yeah? And then use it really, so first to get yourself to the point where you don't get angry, and second, to the point where you think, okay, I have to be really careful of my speech in the future, because every time I trash somebody else, I'm creating the cause for this situation to happen again in my life. And I really don't like this situation. Okay? So you practice with real live things that have happened to you. In your meditation, you practice again and again and again. So, you know, when the situations are not happening, so that you get familiar with this technique. Yeah? If you just listen to it and write it down in your notebook, and that's it, and then meditate on something else, you know, then you're not going to have familiarization with this when somebody criticizes you. Okay? So you really have to come back, and the real key is rerunning situations that happened in your past while you're practicing looking at them in a new way. And what you may discover when you do this, or I should put it in the first person, what I discovered is there's many situations where I thought I was no longer angry, but when I remembered them, I was still upset. And so I really had to go back and really clean out those situations from the past, because until I could get my mind to the point of just accepting what happened and, you know, making it a useful thing in my life. I'm glad this person criticized me, because they showed me how weak my practice is, or how much I need to practice, or how ego-sensitive I am. So it's very good that they did this now. So I have to get my mind really drenched in those new ways of looking at things. Yeah? And to practice that repeatedly. And then when something comes up in my life, it's easy to switch my perspective and look at the new situation in that way, according to the mind training. Okay? And by thinking of past situations, I actually wind up letting go of a lot of resentment and grudge holding that I may have had, but not known that I've had. because I thought I had gotten over it. Yeah. And of course, when you still have that resentment and grudge holding, it weighs on you, even if you're telling yourself it doesn't matter, and it comes out in other ways. So, but when you really, make an effort to practice like this over time, you clear up all that stuff from the past, and you get familiar with a new perspective that then you can switch your mind into, when somebody today criticizes you. Okay? So that's just an example with criticism. It could be the situation of getting sick. It could be, a situation of somebody treating you unfairly. It could be, any number of situations where we don't get what we want or we get what we don't want. And to really practice in those situations. Maybe you apply for a job or you apply to do something and you get turned down. And then our usual thing is, well, that's not fair. I'm just as qualified as the other person. No. And then to stop and think, yeah, but I didn't create the causes. Results only come when the causes have been created. I didn't get the promotion. I may have been equal with somebody, but why were they selected and not me? Because I didn't create the cause. Yeah? I was, who knows what I was doing, sleeping over time. Yeah, or, I did something, and I didn't create the cause to have this situation come about, what I wanted. So let's just accept that, and let's do some more reflections on karma and how karma works, and let's go back and look at the 10 non-virtues and the 10 virtues and what kind of results they bring, and how am I going to refrain from the 10 non-virtues and create the 10 virtues. And so you make all these meditations very, very specific in your life with real examples. Okay, so that's when it says, and apply yourself to the methods. That's what you have to do. Writing it in your notebook, thinking about it in an abstract way, thinking about how your friend could use it in their suffering situation. That's not going to be it for you. You have to really apply it in your own life, to your own mind, when the situation's not occurring. Okay? So, this, I think, is the real meaning of practicing Dharma. Getting this very recalcitrant mind to change. And it takes time and persistence. Yeah? But when we practice, then, it happens.